Ah, but there is more to be done to this thing. As usual, stand by. We're back again with the old Scion. Yep, we just came from under this thing recently, replacing those camber arms right there. But that was not the end all to this rear suspension fun. We also have lateral arms that need to be replaced. Why? Well, because they're sort of like tie rod ends, and just like tie rod ends, they will wear out enough to where they start making a whole lot of noise, and with that noise comes a lot of excess movement. We can't have that. So these gotta go. And just like with the front tie rods, they will need to be set correctly if you want to maintain proper rear alignment. Now, we did a crude alignment on our camber arms on that past job, but even with this lateral arm, with these lateral arms being replaced, we are going to take this car back to get a full rear alignment. So yeah, in the meantime though, I gotta jack this thing up and get this garbage off and replace some bad lateral arms. So as usual, stand by. All right, on our lateral arm we have two things we got to take off. Castle nut right here, that's a 19mm, and a big bolt right there, that's also a 19mm. I currently have my impact socket on there because I'm going to use the impact wrench to knock that thing off, because I don't feel like trying to bust my wrist trying to exercise a bunch of torque on a breaker bar. So your call on that one. On here we also have to use our tie rod fork that goes in here with a hammer to knock the joint from this knuckle right here. You could also just take a hammer and tap the stud on this thing if you know you're not putting this thing back on again, and just smash the thing out. But of course you'll mushroom the tip of the stud on that joint, so be warned on that. Be definitely sure that your replacement part is going to fit before you destroy your old stuff. So in the meantime, go ahead and knock all these nuts and bolts off and beat on this thing and get it loose. Stand by again. Another way to remove these things without using a tie rod fork or beating on the stud is to use your sledgehammer to hit on the side of the knuckle right there, and a lot of times that'll usually be enough shock to cause this wedged in stud to just pop right out. That I'm going to do instead. Stand by. Whether it helped or not, I still ended up having to use the fork to finish it off. But we got the thing loose and out on that end and completely out. Now, these things, normally you shouldn't be able to work this thing like a Atari joystick. So this is clearly trashed. So go ahead and get our new unit, compare the two, and try to get as close to similar alignment to this unit here before we put the thing back in. So stand by again. To make it a little easy to get the alignment set for our new arm, I just took the bolt that holds this part in the middle and inserted it through both of these knuckles right here. So now I can focus exclusively on our little tie rod end thingies right here. And that is adjusted just like on a tie rod end. You got an adjuster sleeve right here that you have to turn to draw the thing in or out. So already got that done. So we should be pretty much good to go. We probably going to be within a couple of degrees accuracy compared to how our old unit was set. So now I could go ahead and put this thing in and wrap up the left side, so then we can get the right side done just as well. Stand by. All right, we got our new lateral arm in. Got the big bolt torqued down. We have our tie rod end, whatever they might actually call this piece right here, in here. Just like with a tie rod end, you might have to tap it up into the knuckle a little bit so that tapered shaft will be able to get a good grabbing. So when you tighten down this nut, it won't end up spinning the shaft just as well. So with the nut tightened down, had to make sure that I get it tightened down just enough to where when I give it the final torque down, the little castle nut grooves right here line up with the hole here in order to put our little retaining pin in there. So now with that, just one more thing, which is snug these nuts up right here, so all this is nice and sturdy, and we can then move on to the right side. So stand by. One other thing to make note of when it comes to tightening up these nuts right here, you're going to need a 22 and a 24 millimeter wrench. The 22 millimeter wrench will be for the adjuster sleeve itself. The 24, because I don't think anybody makes a 23 millimeter wrench near as I could tell. 24 would be for the nuts. If you don't have a 24 millimeter, you can go old school shade tree and use a pipe wrench to tighten the nuts down. So yeah, just something to make note of in case you're limited on your tool supply there. Or you could just use 2 pipe wrenches on both items and call it a day. So one of those little old school shade tree tips, pipe wrenches. They're a lifesaver. All right, we got our second lateral arm ready to rock and roll. Got the old one out, obviously. So I could put this back in, get this snugged up, and conclude the job. Stand by. All right, we have our second lateral arm in place. Everything is snugged down. Because just recently we added some new struts on here with spacers to lift the rear end up, I was actually able to get to this one and put everything on without even taking the tire off, because there is more than enough clearance under here now. That's on another video, so check that out. But yep, lateral arm is in place. All this stuff in the rear, save the actual control arm assembly, is fresh. So yep, with that, our lateral arm job is done, and we can move on to bigger and better things. So as usual, like, subscribe, notifications, TikTok, all that good stuff. Stay tuned for more car stuff and other stuff. So I will catch you later. I'm out.